Good afternoon and welcome to the final 5-Fact Friday before the July the 4th, 2024 general election in the UK. This is easily the most important one I've done. And I'm sorry this isn't going out actually live. It's pre-recorded just before it goes live because I'm on the road having a journey from hell, from Devon up to London with my whole family. I managed to kick them all out of the car and go off while I do this. Haven't got fast enough internet to do a live stream from the road, unfortunately. But I will upload this as soon as I recorded it. Now, the 5 facts for this week. So there's nothing on screen here, but in the description below this video and on my website, mhwc.co.uk, you'll find a link to all the sources of the following 5 facts, so you can go and check them for yourselves and read up on yourselves. But fact number 1 is that Zoopla has today released its June house price index. And the headline was that house price inflation was flat. But actually, they then have a graph, which I've got to just show you just by turning my laptop around. Because it shows you that nowhere in the country actually had zero house price inflation. That's what it looks like. So that is the average UK level, right there. But there you can see every other part of the UK is either up or down. So ignore national averages, okay? Ignore the headlines. More importantly, and actually the fact of the day from this is that Zoopla has said UK house prices are currently 8% overvalued. Again, that's an average. It'll be higher in some parts of the country and lower in others, but overall 8% overvalued. That's fact number 1. Fact number 2, the Bank of England put out its financial stability report yesterday for June 2024, and around 30% of mortgagors, people with mortgages, are likely to see mortgage costs rise by more than £100 a month by the end of 2026. So what they're saying is over the next couple of years, there are still a lot of people who are on 5-year rates that have not yet come off the end of their fixed rate. And that's going to add more and more financial pressure to those people with mortgages. Now, if everything else was good and the economy was great and going up, I'm sure that wouldn't be much of a factor on its own. But you add it in with everything else and it's a factor. Having said that, fact number 3 goes against my expectations. I actually find it a little bit fishy, but the ONS, the Office for National Statistics, today, I think it was today or maybe yesterday, put out revised GDP figures for Q1 2024. And what I think is slightly fishy, I look at GDP per head because that's what affects us. The country's economy as a whole isn't what buys houses, it's people that buy houses. And they buy it with their personal wealth. And GDP per head is the personal wealth. And the weird thing is that GDP per head was minus 0.2%. This is going back 5 quarters. Minus 0.2%, minus 0.2%, minus 0.4%, minus 0.6%. And in Q1 2024, suddenly up 0.5%. I am not aware of any reason why the overall average. Now, perhaps it's to do with, no, because that was even before the tax rises came in, wasn't it? Before the minimum wage was increased and that kind of stuff. So I am absolutely bewildered. They say it's an estimate. This is actually a revised estimate. I am bewildered at the fact that suddenly in Q1 2024, we're all apparently a bit better off, but still lower than it was a year ago. Anyway, I've linked to it below. Go and look at it for yourself. Make up your own mind. That's fact number 3. Fact number 4. Bloomberg this morning published its updated poll of polls. All right. Hang on a second. I'm just going to show you this quickly. Sorry, my computer's being very slow. Here we are. So that's their poll of polls, and it's loads and loads and loads of polls all added together. Every single individual poll is a dot, and then the lines are the average of all the dots. And the red line at the top is Labour, blue line is Tory, pale blue line is Reform, orange line is Lib Dem, green line is Green, and I think the yellow is everything else. Now, the point here is that Labour, according to all of the polls, are going to have a runaway landslide victory and probably the biggest parliamentary majority in the history of British politics. Right? They're currently getting 45% of the vote. Still means that more than half the country don't want them in, but more than 45%. Now, this brings me on to point number 5, but in between general elections, there is basically nothing that we, the public, can do to influence housing policy. In between general elections, there is nothing we, the public, can do to influence housing policy. It is widely accepted that the housing market is in the worst state it has been in living memory. I've studied politics. I spent the first part of my career in the city as a qualified derivatives broker, and I then spent 25 years in the property industry providing technology, data and marketing services to estate agents. So politics, economics and property. And I am worried that this Labour landslide means that the worst is yet to come for the housing market. Not because I don't like Labour housing policies. I would be thrilled if they deliver on most of their housing policies. Not all of them, but most of them, right? If they deliver the number of homes they're going to say, if they're going to reform planning, I would be thrilled. But for the same reasons that the Tories didn't achieve anything in housing, except, it must be said, the Renters Reform Bill, Leasehold Reform Bill, not Renters Reform Bill, they didn't do that. The Leasehold Reform Bill, they did manage to squeeze that in at the very end. It must be said, that was an important achievement, a small but important step in the right direction. But otherwise, in 14 years, they've presided over a long slide down in terms of housing quality, even though they said they were going to build more, they haven't. They were going to change lots of stuff, they haven't. They were going to end Section 21 evictions, they haven't done any of those things. And for the same reasons that the Tories didn't get any of that done, even though Labour intends to get it done, it's not going to get it done. And for that reason, I think that a landslide Labour victory is the worst possible outcome for the housing market. And I need to explain that because a lot of reason I did a poll on X. I'll show you the poll. I did a poll on X asking, if you're voting Labour, what's the reason that you're voting Labour? Is it because you've always been a Labour voter? Is it because you're a former Tory voter and this is a protest vote? Or is it just because you genuinely think, actually, that it's the best option? Sorry, hang on a second. Oh, I had it and I've lost it. I want to show you this. It's really important and it comes on before fact number 5. Bear with me. Here it is. If you intend to vote Labour, why? And ignore the 4th option because that's for everyone that's not voting Labour, right? But the first 3 options, I've always voted Labour, 4.5%. Protest vote, former Tory, 6%. I just think Labour is the best now, 28.2%. So actually, if you ignore the 60% at the bottom, you're talking about that's like 80 or 90% of people saying that they're going to vote Labour. I think it's because it's just the best option now. And that is not an unreasonable assumption if you don't study politics and if you don't study macroeconomics and if you don't know the ins and outs of the housing market and why we have such a bad housing crisis. It's a perfectly reasonable assumption to make. Can't be worse than the Tories. They say they're going to fix everything. The Tories have broken everything. Obviously, then we have to vote Labour so they fix everything. That is going to be the biggest mistake this electorate ever makes, in my opinion. And fact number 5 of today's 5 Fact Friday is that I am so passionate about changing people's minds who think that Labour are the solution to the housing market's problems, that I'm going to do a 60-hour ultra marathon live stream starting at midday on Tuesday the 2nd of July and finishing at midnight on Thursday the 4th of July after the polls have closed. 60 hours straight debating anyone and everyone who wants to debate the housing and the election insofar as it relates to housing. It is not a political debate about the parties. It's only for people who are voting to improve housing. So if you're choosing to vote for whoever you're voting for non-housing related reasons, it's an irrelevant live stream and it's not for you. But if you care about housing, if you care about the fact you can't afford to rent or buy a home, or the one that you can afford isn't a nice place to live, and you think you and your family deserve a better place to live, and you think that's one of the most important things in the election, then this live stream will be for you. And I'm going to be inviting, I've already had quite a few high profile people asking to come on and debate this with me during this 60-hour marathon live stream, when I am going to try and swing the election all on my own. I want to try and get my live stream to go viral. I want to do it to get people to think twice. I'm trying to get the people who perfectly reasonably think that voting Labour is going to be good for the housing market, and I would like the opportunity to change your mind. My chances are close to 0, but I have to do it. Otherwise, I can't even take myself seriously as someone who cares about the housing market. Politics is 99% of the good and bad about the housing market. Everything about the housing market was decided politically. Every policy about bank lending and mortgages and housing and help to buy and council tax and renting, and all these policies were just political decisions. And the number one reason that the housing market is in such a terrible state at the moment is because of political failures, multiple long list of political failures. And I want to discuss them with everyone that wants to discuss them, and I want the chance to change your mind. And I hope that we can maybe just make enough difference to change the mind slightly and not have such a massive Labour landslide. I'm not anti-Labour. I have voted Labour twice myself in the past, but I don't believe that the incoming team, the Starmer-led team, I don't believe they have what it takes to overcome the dysfunction in government and actually get anything done. Thanks for watching. If you want to register, and I welcome anyone. You could be just a mover, you could be a tenant or a landlord or a buyer or a seller or an agent or a broker or anyone or a housing campaigner. Anyone who wants to debate with this with me, please. I put a link to a Google form where you can just send me all your details. That's all private on there. What you want to talk about, how I can contact you, etc. And I'm going to welcome as many as I can, and I'm going to try and stay awake for 60 hours straight. Because I just feel it's my moral obligation to do this and debate anyone and everyone about what you should be doing and how. In a nutshell, anything other than a Labour vote, will be better for the housing market. If you don't understand or don't agree, or you want to know why I think that, come along to the live stream. If you want to debate me with it, fill out that Google form. Otherwise, have a great weekend. Please remember that elections are our only opportunity to change the housing industry. So make sure you vote in a way that you believe will change the housing industry. Thanks, guys. See you on the next one, which will be the live stream. Bye-bye. By the way, I'm hoping to have... so Housing Stig will be on it. I've invited Russell Quirk. He and I actually agree on an awful lot about this, political point of, from the politics point of housing. I've already had... an election candidate from London asked to come and debate live on the live stream, and I'll be welcoming as many people as I can. I hope you make it. Thanks, guys. Have a good weekend. Bye-bye.